Stephen Mulhausen of Dawson Wrestling reported that WWE has been sold to Saudi Arabia's public investment fund. The company will now go back to being private. Currently unknown if Vince McMahon will return to head of creative, but it is expected by some people. That is the announcement, the tweet, the exact words of Stephen Mulhausen. Many others have chimed in on this. And a lot of reputable people. Cassidy Haynes was the first one to really discuss the news, saying that for what it's worth, I'm told the Saudi deal is done. We also heard Andrew Zarian said it's early morning in Saudi Arabia. If official news comes out tonight, expect it to be soon. WWE literally, not figuratively here, WWE literally took the king's shilling. If you were to ask me, give me a million scenarios of how a potential WWE sale would play out, this would never even register to being close to one of them. This is the most preposterous reality, and we're living in it. Vince McMahon, a month ago, was retired out of the company. And WWE looked to be doing some of the best business they had ever done. WWE seemed to be in some of the best stories they've ever done. And now we are looking at a time, we're living in a time, I should say, where not only did Vince McMahon, this all happens in 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, Vince McMahon forces his way back into the company, makes the proclamation that the company is going to sell. Stephanie McMahon, just a few hours ago, stepped down as CEO of WWE, left those duties to Nick Khan, and now the news of Saudi Arabia buying WWE. I always said, ever since the news of a WWE sale came out, I always said that there was always going to be a likelihood that Saudi Arabia was going to be a top bidder. I thought behind NBC Universal, they were the top bidder because at the end of the day, they had the most money to offer this company. If they wanted to throw down $15 billion for WWE, they could have done it. This is the Saudi Public Investment Fund has over $600 billion to work with. They were going to make the money work. It was just a matter of how much did they truly value WWE and how much did they want it. We don't know the exact number as of right now. However, expect it to be big. UFC, for reference, sold in 2016 for, I believe, in the ballpark of $4 billion. I actually think it was right around $4 billion. WWE will likely go for much, much more. I always talked about the range for them being between $5 to $10 billion. And this is absolutely just crazy. Absolutely just crazy. And there's so much to talk about here. I will get to all of your questions in a second, but there's so much to talk about here. There is the fact that not only is Saudi Arabia, a foreign entity, buying foreign to the United States, I should say, buying this company, and we've known that they've been running some propagandic shows with this company, but they're buying this company. They're taking it private. A publicly traded company is going private. So all of the stuff that we were accustomed to, the reporting, the SEC violations, all that stuff potentially could go away. And on top of that, they don't have to report anything if they're a private company. They don't really have to report much if they're a private company. I don't want to understate how big of a deal this is. Cassidy Haynes earlier on tonight, by the way, great reporting from Cassidy Haynes, great reporting from Stephen Mulhausen and everyone else who was on this. Cassidy Haynes said that if this is true, it is the biggest story in the history of wrestling. And yes, bigger than Vince McMahon retiring. For me, 6 months ago originally was the biggest story in the history of wrestling. Nothing could ever touch that. This breaks it. This absolutely breaks the scale, breaks everything. I cannot believe that we're actually legitimately talking about this. And this soon. The news of the WWE was even that they were seriously looking to sell. Didn't even break until like 2 weeks ago. MGT, I know you're in the chat asking how much did they sell for. As of this recording, I don't know. That news is not out. Saudi Arabia has not even released an official press release. However, look for that to happen sometime in the next few hours. But this is absolutely jarring. Absolutely jarring. I mean, the other aspect we have to discuss here is the superstars. How is this going to affect superstars and their relation with this company? Someone like Sami Zayn, for example, and Kevin Owens as well, but Sami Zayn, who has been outspoken, very critical of the Saudi government, who has been very outspoken about their human rights violations, who has been very outspoken about the way they do business and these propagandic shows that the Saudi government puts on with WWE, who is so much so where he doesn't even go to the shows. How is that going to affect him? How is that going to affect other people? I know that people have questions about how it's going to affect women's wrestling and things like that. I'll go into it a little deeper later on, but I don't think that the things like that are necessarily going to be changing as long as they happen within the United States. Saudi Arabia is invested in a lot of things that internationally that don't necessarily align with their domestic views and their domestic laws. For example, they also own football teams in England that have beer sponsors. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're endorsing it or not, but they are in business with that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens here, but the biggest story in the history of wrestling, you're damn right it is. Let me know what you guys think, though. Hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released.